Let's imagine ourselves in this situation. You just bought your first vinyl record, or you are planning on starting buying them, but before you do anything with this weird black circle, you decide to watch some YouTube videos about how to properly use them. Of course, many of the tips that appear in those videos are really useful, like how to hold them or place them on your shelf, but some of the tips that are common in those videos are pretty scary if you are just new to the vinyl. You have already spent some money on the record player and now you need to spend even more on cleaning machines, new needles and more. If you got your first vinyl as a teenager, then it's pretty horrifying. And maybe even you will have a thought that you are just ruining some good records and you should stop collecting because you aren't doing everything that they have told you. Well, that's why I decided to make this video. It won't be a rant on them, because I still think they are worth to watch and have many useful tips which even helped me get to this point where I am right now. But I think many of the advices that appear in them may scare off some new buyers, which many of them are teenagers who can't afford more than the cheap record player and maybe 1 or 2 chords right now. That's why I decided to give myself a award in this topic after 4 years of collecting. Let's start with first and main tip. Don't be frightened and have fun. You don't need to panic with your first records. Yes, there are many important rules which you need to remember, like don't touch the grooves or don't stack them on top of each other. Hoarding vinyl may be tricky at first, but you will easily remember the fact to only touch the sides. Of course, if you will accidentally touch more than supposed, it won't make your vinyl ruined. But you need to remember to hold them right, because with the correct way you can avoid any marks on the grooves or accidental nail scratches that could make the sound of the vinyl worse over time. And the proper way to stack the records are vertically. Stacking them on top of each other may start slowly crushing them because of the heavy weight, so try avoiding that. I think that these rules are the most important for the early collector. If you are doing them in the right way, then you can chill and enjoy the music. The next tip, sleeves. Let's start with the inner sleeves. You may hear about the need of replacing every inner sleeve with new one, because if you don't do it, then it will destroy your record with bacteria inside. In my opinion, if you own a recently pressed vinyl, then you don't need to do it yet. If you are an owner of an older record like 70s and older, then if it's in rough condition, then it will make it easier for you to change the inner, because it may get a bit tough taking out the record from inside and ruin the sleeve even more. Replace it and the original one hide inside the cover, and believe me, replacing it will make it easier for you. And the most normal inner sleeve you can buy for cheap on internet, they aren't expensive, so you can probably afford them. And for the outer sleeves, then I can mostly recommend if you are more into the collecting and want them to look good and a bit safer from outside world. And if you are just a person who bought 1 or 2 records of their favorite artist but you don't plan to be a collector, then you don't have to. Okay, well, I will try to get over this topic really quickly. PVC covers are outer inner sleeves, which are made out of chemicals which over time start ruining the record inside. The best way to recognize the sleeve is to smell them, which the smell is pretty recognizable, like chemicals. Try avoiding them and replacing them with the normal ones. For more information, I invite you to the video in the description. This might be my more controversial opinion, but if you can't afford a more expensive record player and your only choice are those cheaper all-in-one case ones, then go ahead. They aren't really good, I will admit, as a guy who once owned a record player like this. The sound quality is really poor, the needle is also not good, and it just feels cheap. But if you are just a regular teenager who wants to listen to vinyl but can't get the more expensive one, then you can start with the cheap one, and maybe it will get you more into the vinyl, and then you will want to improve with a professional record player. So always remember the fact that if you owned one of these suitcase ones, then there are higher quality ones that may improve your experience. Okay, so let's imagine ourselves in this situation where you have a record player and decide to buy your first vinyl. You go to your local supermarket and you start seeing the prices, which are, well, quite expensive, but if you are more into older music like 80s and rower, then the best way to buy records for cheap is going to the antique shops and flea market. There you can find really great deals for some older records which may save you lots of money. And if you are into more modern music, then where I recommend you to start looking through selling sites on internet like eBay or Discogs. You can find many of those records for way cheaper, and the same I recommend for the people that I talked about previously. This way you can buy really great vinyl for less than $25, which is the minimum price in the shopping malls or supermarkets. My last quick advice is to not mistake vinyl record with this. This one is called 78 or shellac. It's way older music format from early 20th century, which looks like vinyl but it isn't. It is way heavier, has different grooves, and needs a different type of needle, which is a reason why you cannot play them on your modern record player. To play them you need to get the special needle or buy the original gramophone that plays them. You can easily spot the difference when you have them side by side, but remember the fact, and also don't play your vinyl on those gramophones which I mentioned. Well, I think that's all advices I have for now for a beginning collector or just a normal vinyl listener. I still recommend to you few other vinyl advice videos by more professional people who talk way better than I am, but remember the fact to not panic and just remember the basic facts and avoid scratching them. If you don't follow every rule that is said by others, then it won't ruin your collection. I believe that for the beginning you need to stick to the basics and have fun with listening to it. That's all I have to say for now. I will see you later and stay safe. Well, I forgot to give myself a bit of self-promotion. I want to tell you guys about my latest project that has been released few months ago. I made a Beatles fan game, the Beatles video game, which is a 2D platform shooter, which you can play by downloading it or playing it on your browser. The game took me a while, which was the main reason why this channel wasn't active for a few months. I want to recommend the game to you. I will see you in the next video. Bye!